where are you right now?
Right now, I'm in New Jersey, United States of America.
Okay, all right. So you must be missing all the show, all the noise that happens usually around the Alert-a-thon event.
That's right, and I compensated for that by doing it remotely from the US.
Okay, yeah. See, I think that's the beauty of this pandemic, right? So even though we were all separated, we were all brought together at the same time. And when the Alert-a-thon was initially conceptualized, I don't think we would have ever had this bit of idea that it's going to bring and unite a lot of people outside of Chennai, entire India, and also the world. Any supporters of this cause. It's amazing to see how the last year being the first edition, we had over 3,300 plus participants, 11 countries. And the numbers are even more amazing this time. We had only 23 days of campaign, and we have more than 2,300 participants for this year. And it's simply incredible how the support has grown for Alert. Now, you have been associated with Alert since 2011, am I right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And also you were the mastermind behind the simulation lab. Why don't you tell me something about the genesis of, especially your association with Alert and how it all started, Manick.
I was the CEO of a hospital in Chennai, and the chairman was associated with Alert at that time, and he still is, Dr. J.S. Rajkumar. And he and I, we went to school together from second standard. And it was a natural extension for me to go and meet up with Kala one of the days and say, hey, what are you guys doing? And sure enough, she explained to me what was happening.
Okay.
And I got bowled over, and I said, I want to be an active part of it. And she asked me to be a part of it. She asked me to help out in the simulation lab. So we have a good simulation lab, probably one of its kind in all of India. Probably only one of less than 20 that have any facilities like that anywhere in India.
And I truly acknowledge that I've been to the simulation lab multiple times. I've been a student to learn first aid, the session was delivered by Alert, and it was pretty amazing to understand how a common man can understand the act of saving lives by experiencing it. The simulation lab had all the right equipment, the facility, the dummies, and then the feedback electronically that goes to the computer, which tells you what is the survival rate of a person. When I administered, I think the first time when I did, it was only 80%. I was like really taken back that, okay, even though the CPR looks the same, when you look at somebody administrating, or even on the videos, they say, okay, it looks the same, but the way you connect with the victim and also administer the CPR is completely different. I think the simulation role played a very, very crucial role in me understanding. In fact, always we had this misconception that how can anybody compress the chest, right? We have the chest bone, what will happen? Will it not break? All this myth around this, and I think the simulation lab just kind of broken all those myths and gave me an opportunity to understand. So what were the thoughts behind setting up this simulation labs? How did you start? In fact, even looking into the aspect of coming up with the simulation lab, what inspired Alert to get into the simulation lab?
I had done multiple training here in the United States before coming back to the US, and one of the things I realized was no matter what you do with a dummy, you still won't know how to do it right. And to be able to do it right, you need smart dummies. And that was one of the things that we were able to get a sponsor for and buy the appropriate equipment. But more than that, it's a collective volunteerism that came together to put that thing together and extend it beyond just CPR. Not just CPR, not just AED readiness, but also encompassing common medical emergencies that can happen anywhere at home or at work or pretty much anywhere. I think that was the beauty of minds coming together. Rajesh and Kala were active participants in this entire thing. They were leading the path. And so I think it's a great idea. It's a great idea that need to be replicated all around the country, not just with us.
Also, currently you're a health tech entrepreneur at iMMilife. So why don't you tell me something about what you do at your iMMilife Healthcare?
Fortunately for me, everything that I've been doing is connected in some way or the other.
Right.
So even as I was working with Alert on the simulation lab, I also had this idea that people who had symptoms of heart attack did not even recognize that in the first place. And by the time they went into a hospital, it was on an average of 360 minutes after the onset of first symptom, by which time it's too late. And so I came up with a...
But this stat is in India, or is it like a world average? Okay.
Yeah, 360 minutes is in India. Elsewhere, it's much, much less. And to narrow the gap, we came up with a solution where we said, you go to any nursing home, when you have any kind of symptoms, and take an ECG, put it into our system.
Okay.
Our system will send it to 5 random cardiologists, and within 5 minutes, we get an answer whether it's a heart attack or not. And if it is, we're able to connect a cardiologist with the attending physician. The two of them talk together and stabilize the patient.
Okay.
And that's exactly what we are trying to do with the CPR too. CPR is the initial way of trying to get the patient to be brought back to life, so to say, and then the doctors can take over from there. So there's a close connection in what I do in my day job as a health tech entrepreneur and what I do with Alert as a volunteer.
Okay, now this is also a life-saving attempt, as an app. As you rightly said, you're connecting the world of saving lives with. Can I simplify the aspect of saving lives? Right? I think that's the brain that connects a common man with a complicated issue. So is it an app that anybody can download, or how can anybody get access to this application?
At this point, we have the apps available to doctors, because individually you cannot do anything unless you go to a nursing home where there's a doctor. So the apps are downloadable by doctors, and of course it's also used by cardiologists. Okay. But we also do have a call-in number where we are able to guide a person right from home as to what needs to be done.
And is it already launched in India?
It has been launched in India, and in fact we have helped a lot of COVID patients during wave 1 and wave 2.
Yes.
Because 95% of the people don't have to go to a hospital. They can recover at home, provided they have a doctor to supervise and nurses to monitor them 24/7.
And what's let's say if I have to download and connect with the interconnected network of doctors, what should I do?
There's a telephone number. You just have to call it. It's 044-4312-6091. And you will connect with one of our nurses, and she will then take over the entire care for you.
Okay, no, that's pretty awesome, and continuing to saving lives, even though virtually wherever you are, you continue to stay connected with the cause. This is wonderful, Manick. Now, Alert is celebrating 15 years, and Alertathon 2021 is in its 7th edition. I think we met in 2018, the first edition of Alertathon. No, the first Alert Being Award time, yes. I guess. That was 2016. And, I've seen you talking about this application and how also you've been helping some of the remote villages in Africa so they get connected with the doctors in India. The concept sounded pretty amazing. And I'm happy to see that it's getting better and better as the ages grow. So the Alert 15 years and Alertathon 2021 7th edition, what it means to you, Manick?
For me, it's personally, it's very dear to me. It's very dear to me because healthcare starts with oneself. Mm-hmm. We need to be able to be in charge of what's happening to ourselves. We need to understand the symptoms. We need to know what to do. And we also need to be able to help our brethren. It could be a family member, or it could be a colleague, or it could be an unknown person out on the street, which is exactly how Rajesh and Kala started this entire thing. They wanted to see there was a road traffic accident. They did not know what to do. They were wringing their hands. They said, we need to learn how to help with the first aid. And so this is a skill, and especially what Alert does is a comprehensive bouquet of skills that allows anyone. They do not have to know anything about healthcare. All they need to know is, okay, I'm the one person who can help another person.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing to see how the education plays a crucial role in helping somebody appreciate what first aid is. I vividly remember when I used to travel in the Cheran Transport Corporation buses between Coimbatore and Ooty, because that's the only way you can travel. There used to be a first aid box inside the bus, which is like, probably a rectangular box. And for many years, I wondered what was there in the box. And I didn't have to wait a long time. But I remember in one of the buses I traveled, the box actually, the vehicle was kind of rattling and the box opened, and I found one bottle of Dettol and probably a Band-Aid. And I never understood how that could help anybody, because first aid in my mind was any cut and bruise and going and treating or washing or taking somebody to the hospital, but never thought that first aid could be much more than that. Yesterday I was also part of the first aid training conducted by Alert to all the Alertathon participants. At one point in time we had about 120 participants. It's amazing to see how the idea of first aid is now broken down into very simple terms. Anybody can understand, and also the gaps in the knowledge, the gaps in understanding, the myths around how to go and help an accident victim, what people generally do versus what you're not supposed to do. There's a huge gap, even with a lot of educated people. It's nothing to do with the person by itself. It's just the education system doesn't allow us to learn these concepts, right? And I'm pretty amazed that Alert has invested a lot of time in simplifying the language for a common man to understand. First aid is a very easy thing for anybody to do, and it can be learned, but through training. And then if Alertathon participants can learn, by joining this, this big celebration that is happening. Yesterday was World First Aid Day, and I'm sure today is also a very significant day in the history, 9/11, right? So I'm going to share the picture that you shared with me earlier. I see the United States flags and also below you and two more. So can you talk about this picture? What is your connection with 9/11? And of course, the entire world knows about what 9/11 is. I want to understand your connection with 9/11.
Yes, I was in charge of disaster recovery and business continuity for Deutsche Bank at that time. And just a month prior to 9/11, I had done a dry run of a similar scenario, saying what happens if our computers or servers on World Trade Center do not work? How do we switch back to fallback servers? And what happens if people are unable to enter the building? And how can they be shifted to another building? So we did this exactly a month before, and on Tuesday, September 11th, 2001, it happened for real. So when it happened for real, of course, I was right there. I saw the second plane hit. I saw both the buildings fall. And even as the buildings were falling, my colleague who was in a vault on Pine Street and we were doing the switch to backup servers in Piscataway. So it's very personal to me. 9/11 was very personal to me. It still is personal to me. So today, when we went there, I had with me two youngsters. One is Shiva, Kala's son, who works here in New York City. And so I picked him up. And then another classmate of mine, his son, Tarun, he also joined me. He came all the way from Philadelphia. So the three of us took it upon ourselves to do a 10K. And we said we'll do it right there where there's going to be a memorial service on New Jersey side. So we went to New Jersey. We went there for a few minutes. We stood there, listened to the service, and then we did our 10K, remembering those 3,000 odd people who died.
Yeah, and I think the
You are on mute.
Yeah, sorry. I think what basically came out was the role of a first responder, in terms of the emergency service personnel, on the fire servicemen, the police, and even a lot of people, they joined hands in saving people by doing some, probably extremely simple act to, a complicated act of, rescuing somebody from debris. So I think the event has a deep impact in all of our lives, and connecting back to what the alert does, the first aid training that we all learn, it is not for anything that's going to happen now. It is for anything that can happen anytime, anywhere in the world. It need not have to be on the road, because generally accident and first aid means most of the time in India, with the number of road accidents, we all think that it is only road accident. But when you actually understand what first aid can do, it ranges of issues, including choking, including bleeding, including epileptic attack, heart attack, and somebody is fainted because of heat and sunstroke, and also hyponatremia, issues that we also come across in marathon endurance events, which are very specific to sports-specific conditions. But having this knowledge on first aid can save lives. And I'm very happy to be connected with Alert as a volunteer, and also knowing people like you doing some amazing work. And thank you so much for joining me today, Manick. And I'm really happy that even though we don't stand shoulder to shoulder at the start line and then kind of chat about what we do, and also how Alertathon and Alert, and then also generally chatting about life events, I never thought that I'll get an opportunity to talk to you. And thank you very much. Before we wind up, do you have anything to say to absolute beginners who have no knowledge on first aid, but they accidentally came across this video? Golden words.
Think of every person around you as your family.
Oh, beautiful.
And everything will happen automatically.
Beautiful. I think that once because we will give anything in our life to support a family member, and I think that's the power that we have in the context of saving lives. Nobody is a stranger. If somebody is a victim, he's a family member, just go show your act of kindness. Okay. Golden words. Thank you so much, Manick, and it was wonderful talking to you.
Thank you for having me, Coach K.